Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Uncle Sharma channel. Here for a special episode, bit of a different one, as a bit of a random idea I had because I follow this guy for a little while, only recently, but this guy is a podcaster, YouTuber extraordinaire, Mr. Fuad Cadani. If you're into Spurs, Premier League, you have to know about this guy. What's up, bro? Thank you for
All
joining
good,
me.
bro. All good, bro. Thank you for having me, man. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so the topic for today, let me just pull up all the banners and all the good stuff, and you can see down below if you want to follow Fuad, and all the links are down below. Basically, bro, we're here to talk about a man that Inter fans we still love, or most of us still love, on a different level, because obviously you know what that guy did for us. Treble, the triplete, we still, pretty much worship the guy. If this guy goes to Milan, if Jose goes to Milan today, this guy's getting free food, free drink. Well, unless they're Milan fans, free accommodation, whatever this guy wants. This guy's getting king level treatment if he goes to Milan. Still to this day, it's been 11 years now since that day. Even though we're that far apart, we still like the guy. And we've been obviously following what's going on at Spurs, and it kind of got swept under the rug, with all the Super League drama, all this WWE storyline going on.
It was a shame. You almost felt like it was a smoke screen, but yeah,
literally. But yeah, the guy got sacked by Daniel Levy. Another one bites the dust after Pochettino. First of all, tell us your initial reaction. Do you felt like he deserved it? First of all, the sacking, and then afterwards we can go into your thoughts on Jose in general.
I mean, whether he deserved it or not is kind of a tough one. I think it's been a tough season for the team as a whole. I think the squad, it's been a tough season for them. So to kind of pin the blame all on him and to say kind of he deserved to be sacked is a tough one for me. I think the circumstances would have probably said that he's a dead man walking since we got dumped out of Europa League, I think, considering we got beaten in the North London derby the week before. Both games in such passionless, mindless and gutless performances as well. Things that you don't really associate Jose with, which kind of, I think, was the moment where Daniel Levy kind of said, maybe the Jose magic isn't working here or so. But I think it was kind of inevitable, something that was going to happen at the end of the season. For me, I think the biggest issue I had was with the timing of it. I think for a manager who's done so much in the game, a manager who's got so much respect, I think even with the situations this season, every Spurs fan can look at it and tell you those players have a big part to play for those results. And Jose, of course, people will say his football played a part or whatever, but I feel like 4 days before a final is a very, very risky and crazy move to make. And I feel like in a final where Jose has never lost a League Cup final, where Jose is renowned for winning silverware, the one thing you've brought him to the club for, and then 4 days before you want to put in ahead of youth development to take over that game ahead of Jose, who has already beaten City twice in the last year. And also, I feel like his tactics maybe would have been a benefit in this kind of matchup where City are going to dominate position. You're going to need to play on the counter. And Jose, he loves these types of games, the big occasion where the odds are stacked against him. And I thought, for me personally as a Spurs fan, that was my only hope for the cup final. I thought City, the form they're in recently, they're playing in the form of their life. So I thought, Jose can do one of his tactical master plans, we stand a chance. But then lo and behold, sacked 4 days before. That's the thing that most disappointed me. I'm a man who I was screaming here, Jose way. I was all in on Jose because I truly appreciate Jose for what he is. And I understand Jose for what he is. That was the main thing. So definitely gutted. Deserved, I would say. Some Spurs fan would say yes, maybe a bit overdue. But I would have said at least give him after the cup final to give him the respect he deserves.
Yeah. So do you think the Super League thing had to do with that, with the sacking then?
I think the Super League thing more, it was like Levy, thought he'd secured the big bank and thought that there was no way back from this. So it was like losing Jose million for 30 million means nothing. We've got bigger things on our mind. And then also it's as I said, it's the smokescreen of if the Europa Super League does backfire completely, we can kind of give the smokescreen of Jose and this is maybe why things are going wrong. This is why we need to look in a different direction or whatever. So for me, it was Levy getting himself out of a hole. That's how I saw him sacking Jose, because Levy was the one that ruthlessly got rid of Pochettino, who was working within budget, developing players, got the club to where we needed to be. And you decided to completely switch gears and go into gear 5 with Jose.
Yeah.
You cannot bring Jose in and then now tell him you're working with a tight budget and a mediocre team. This is not how Jose gets success. Historically, if you look at Jose, he does not like working with mediocre players with weak mentalities and weak attitudes. And that is too much of what we have at Tottenham Hotspurs.
Yeah. And the fact that it's a cup final, that's like that's easy money. That's Jose's bread and butter. Cup finals, okay, maybe he's lost 1 or 2 here and there, but that's where you would bank. Like, if you're paying him the big bucks, this is what you're paying them the big bucks for. So it was very confusing decision to me, and bringing in Ryan Mason as well, which was a weird one because I thought it would be Ledley King. Do you know anything about
honestly,
that?
I was baffled by that because I said Ledley King had been. I know he'd only been here 8 months, and Ryan Mason had been here since 2019 or 18, I think it is. But I still felt like Ledley was a better legend, a better player, a better leader. He was actually captain of the club. And the fact that you've been working very closely with Jose all this time, you clearly know the ins and outs of what's going on. You know what person might be rubbed up the wrong way, what person needs a bit of cheering up. That's where I felt like Ledley might be able to almost use these 7 games as a big boost in his coaching development, if you like, because we were sold this idea of, we're hiring black coaches and all this and that. And it's like, and then Ryan Mason gets the job at the first opportunity as a head of development as well. It's not like he was an under 23 coach or an under 18 manager. He was a head of development. So he was in an exec office typing away, checking up on everybody's development. So I get it. But for me, I still feel like it's a bit of a harsh way to put him into the role, Ryan Mason. I would have definitely preferred Ledley King.
What do you make of this comment here from Mo? He says the team was not mediocre because when he first came in, I thought I wouldn't say maybe he wasn't mediocre, but as in it didn't seem like the right fit for Jose in terms of the people on the team.
No.
It wasn't a Jose team. But before he came into Spurs, he did used to say a lot of positive things about Spurs, didn't he? Like he used to say, "The squad is great."
And those players we're talking about, it's the Eric Dyers and Dele Allis. And we're talking about when he was at Man United. So we're talking 18, 19. These guys were in the form of their life at that point. We've moved on 2 to 3 years on. These players have not developed and taken that next step in their career. And I feel like when he came in, he still almost had that rose-tinted glass on with a few of those players. But then also, you're walking into a dressing room that's at an all-time low under Pochettino after we lost the Champions League final. The second half of that season, we crashed out, and the way we started under Pochettino was awful. So he's walking into a very fractured dressing room. The last thing you want to be doing is going in there and saying, half of these guys aren't good enough. Mind you, 2/3 of this team are still the same players on the Poch. And I say mediocre, especially in regards to the standard of what Jose has managed previously. We're talking Chelsea, round 1, then Inter Milan, then Real Madrid. Let's even go back to the Porto team. You look at that Porto team individually, top talent players. Like, you compare that to this Spurs team, and I'm looking at Serge Aurier, who was a backup for Trippier and Walker. Eric Dyer, who was signed as a defensive midfielder. We still don't know his best position. You're looking at Davinson Sanchez, who makes more errors than any other centre-back in the Premier League. Ben Davies signed as a backup. So it's like Harry Winks, a youth academy. Musa Sissoko, initially a flop, signed from Newcastle. So these are the kind of players when I'm talking about mediocre. Lamella, we're still waiting 7 years to reach his potential.
Oh my days, Lamella, bro. Inter will link with Lamella when you guys signed him from Rome.
Every summer, I prayed that Inter would take him off us, but somehow you haven't fell for it yet. Lucas Moura is another one who he's living off a hat trick in a semi-final 2 years ago. Like, Bergwijn has come in, barely done anything. Lo Celso was signed as a goal scorer midfielder. He's contributed less than 5 goals and assists the entire time he was here. So for me, there's a lot of times when I look at this squad and I'm like, this is not up to the Jose Mourinho standard. But then also, we have 2/3 of this team that was still here from when Poch was here. So we clearly need a transition and a clear out. And that didn't happen. I felt like under Jose, last summer, for example, everybody would say Jose was back, but he was given 2 loan signings, a freebie backup goalkeeper, 15 million signings in Doherty and Højbjerg, who aren't exactly groundbreakers, if you like. No top 6 side is going to look at Doherty and Højbjerg and think they're going to slot straight into our first team. Spurs did. And it's like, that's where I feel like you haven't backed Jose the way he should be backed. And especially when you're bringing a manager of that caliber in, I just feel like you have to put him on that kind of best position to succeed. And I'm sorry, if you're not going to bankroll Jose, it's not going to work.
Exactly, bro. And that's why this has ended up being his worst tenure pretty much at a club. You know, this says that Tottenham 2019 to 2021 obviously hasn't had a full season, but 0 trophies. This is the first time ever at a club he's leaving with 0 trophies and winning percentage of only 51. That's really bad for Jose standards. And then points per game, he's got the lowest of your like last 5 managers as well, which must be, you know, it's not pretty.
And the thing is I believe Mourinho actually, if Levy probably told him at the beginning that there might not be a huge budget to work with, which is why he was going so overboard with the praise for a lot of these players who Spurs fans felt like needed clearing out. But I also felt like it was Jose Mourinho coming off the back of a Man United job where he spent a lot of money and people were saying, oh, he's losing his touch, he's losing his way. And this was kind of his perfect job to say, you know what, I'm going to show you that my man management, my tactical is still here. And I'm going to do that by not spending a lot of money at Spurs. Because Jose, we all know, has a massive ego. And he definitely wanted to tap into that and say, do you know what? If I can even lift 1 trophy with Spurs, it'll be better than anything Pochettino done. And lo and behold, 4 days before he even gets the opportunity, Levy says, you know what? I don't want that egg on my face. Why don't I get rid of you 4 days before? So that way, anything good that happens, I take the credit for it. Levy.
Wow.
And anything bad that's happened throughout the season, I can blame Jose. And that's exactly how he's painted it out right now.
That's snaky movement, man. And but we saw like in the Amazon documentary, you know, we didn't really know about Levy, but you could tell he's kind of he's a bit of a he portrayed himself as a positive, in a positive light, clearly ruthless. In that documentary. Yeah, very ruthless. And yeah, like that, there's a quote that, or like a little excerpt that I've picked out from a article I was reading earlier on yesterday. It was talking about how much tinkering he's been doing, Mourinho, this season. It says since the turn of the year, he's fielded 23 different outfield players in the Premier, or 23 outfield players in the Premier League, more than any other manager in the top half. Used a wide range of different formation, including 4 games with 3 at the back, experimenting with 4-4-2. And yeah, like he's become the Tinkerman. He's become Claudio Ranieri.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I feel like he hasn't found the right rotation of defenders. I feel like he hasn't found his best 11, because even you look at Spurs' 11, outside of Kane, Son, Ndombele, Højbjerg, and Reguilon, who I feel like are our best players, and we're all playing for Jose. You can all see, even when he left, they were the only few players I think that left goodbye messages on their Instagram posts.
Yeah.
But I feel like outside of that 5, he struggled to find guys who he can trust. Whether that's Sissoko, whether that's Dele Alli, whether that's Lo Celso, Mora, Bergwijn, Lamela, Aurier, Dyer. Like, I think in this season, he's almost tried every opportunity to give everyone a fair crack.
Yeah.
Even Bale's been in and out of the side. Like, so it's not a thing where I feel like he's tinkering and all this. I feel like nobody has stepped up. Nobody has grabbed those opportunities by the scruff of the neck. All of those centre-backs have let themselves down. Every single one of them has made individual errors that have cost us games. Sissoko, he started the season in a double pivot with Højbjerg. His performance has got so bad he had to drop him. Bergwijn, how many months can you go without scoring before a manager drops you? Lamela, he can't be relied on with injuries. Same with Lo Celso. Bale, same, fitness issues. And then also, you hit a purple patch of form, but then when the time comes and it's crunch time and we need the Gareth Bale to step up, North London derby, where were you?
Yeah.
European fixtures, where were you? So it's a case of, as much as people can say Jose's tinkering and letting the side down by not getting a familiarity, they're also not taking their chances. And when players are not performing and results are not going your way, you have to tweak these things.
Yeah, and the point you were making, the defense really is the crux of the whole, you know, situation, isn't it? Because like that's the thing with Jose. You think that when he comes to your club, you're gonna have a solid defense, or if you go in the lead, you're gonna keep that lead. But the stats are showing that you guys. Sorry,
it's crazy. But you see, just there, where you're saying that second half losing the points, it's so mad that every time this season in the second half we drop, and I feel like that's a mental thing, and that's what you said there is perfect. Jose, you almost associate him with this defensive solidity, mental resilience. Like those are the 2 things I said. If Jose comes, we're going to get those. And those are arguably my 2 favorite traits in a team that I love to see. That's why I love Diego Simeone so much. But when we're dropping points like this,
football, yeah.
I love me some terrorism football because I love it when a team challenges another team to break them down. And it just shows you now, wave after wave, we will come. And guess what? We will have 2 opportunities up the other end and score. And that's what we were doing early in the season with Son and Kane. But I feel like with this defense, Jose could not build on it. And no matter what, they would let him down. And I still feel like, in a way, he did get something out of this because I think we've got the second best defensive record in the Premier League.
Oh, really?
Which if you looked at Tottenham, you wouldn't think that. But I feel like with him putting Højbjerg in front of that, and just the way he's pretty much set up every game, that has helped us concede way less goals than we did last year. Last year, we were open floodgates. Now, the issue I have is that second half drop-off. Yeah, we can be solid, but then if we can't hold those 1-goal leads, those 2-goal leads, they mean nothing, especially if mentally you're going to crumble. And too many times this season, we've seen these squads crumble. And I just feel like that's where I want more from Jose. That's those second half inspirational team talks. Then I'm starting to think, is Jose maybe wearing these players down in the halftime team talks? I don't know what's happening, but something is going wrong in that second half where it's not picking up.
Yeah, and that brings me to the main question of our whole conversation here. Like, is he, like, you know, obviously he improved. We, like, when he first came, you know, he said that to Kane, you know, you need, I'm gonna make you hear whatever that quote was in the documentary. You know, you need to be.
I'm gonna make you explode. I love it.
Yeah. And he's exploded. You know, this guy's putting up mad numbers. And then Son as well. Son, I think, has become, you know, he's taken his game. Obviously, he's a bit sometimes inconsistent, but he's definitely taken his game up to the next level. You know, Højbjerg has been like a great signing. Who else has he actually improved?
Ndombele, I would say. Ndombele a year ago was looking like a complete lost figure, and people were saying, "Oh, flop of the season." And now this year, it's like, "Oh my God, every Tottenham fan can't get enough of Ndombele on the ball." So it's like, I feel like he's brought a whole different side to him. Now maybe we can see even more of Ndombele, but I'm definitely giving credit to Jose for turning that around, because Jose usually as well, when someone is not trying or doesn't have the effort, he tends to give up on them. I don't have time for diva mentality. But with Ndombele, he could see that this was a guy with ability. He just needed that mental approach. He just needed to change that. And we've seen that this year, improvements. Reguilon, I would say, has looked just as good as well. So that's the funny thing with this team. As I said, Jose, I feel like when he works with high-quality players, you will get the best Jose. And that's what we've seen with those 5 players I've named. Those are the 5 best players at the club. Kane, Son, Højbjerg, Ndombele, Reguilon. Outside of that, it's mid-level talent. And I feel like this is where Jose's biggest struggle is. I feel like he struggles to take mediocre talent and make them great, especially if this mediocre talent is not willing to sacrifice and die for his tactics, die for his methods. And that's what you need in a Jose team. Jose's biggest thing has always been sacrifice. I don't care how talented you are, you must be willing to sacrifice for the team. And I feel like nowadays, with the way society's going, with the way the game is going, with how players' mentalities, it's just, they just don't buy into that the same. And the quality players will understand it because they want to be the best ones, like the Ndombeles, the Kanes, the Son. They understand what it means to be the best. But the guys like Ben Davies and Doherty, they're no, Premier League is their max level. They're happy. They'll be like, you know what, I'll last here longer than Jose. Let me just kick my feet up. He'll go eventually. And that's what's happened now.
Oh, you've brought it's perfectly to my next slide, bro. You were talking about the difference in mentality, you know, the new era, the new generation of footballers, you know, being different from what he used to manage. Dele Alli is probably the perfect example at Spurs. I think, the guy is, the typical, modern footballer. Some would say, a bit soft, a little bit spoiled. He doesn't have that mentality, that top quality mentality. Does Jose have a problem now with managing this generation of footballers then?
You can say that, but then for me, I would ask, is that mentality from the players the right one to have? Because for me, someone like Dele Alli, I look at that situation and I'm like, when Jose walked in, the first thing he did as Tottenham manager was get his arm around Dele Alli. That was the first guy who he walked to in the changing room, and he said, "Who's this Dele Alli? Is this your brother?" He goes, "Bring me the real Dele Alli." And I remember the first press conference, he said, "If I can have the real Dele Alli turn up, we've got a serious player." So for me, that was Jose almost showing growth. That was Jose trying to adapt to the modern day methods and be like, you know what, let me get an arm around this guy. Maybe that's what he needs. For 5 or 6 games, we saw that brilliant performance.
Yeah.
And then what the modern day players, I feel like, do, they relax, they get complacent, and they just think their starting place in the squad is secure. And they don't understand competition. And that's where Dele Alli, when we came back from COVID, he just tailed off. So first game of the season against Everton, he got subbed off half-time. He was that bad. So it was a case of you'd completely let yourself down. You'd gained the manager's trust and then got complacent with it and threw it away, rather than thinking, do you know what, I can become Jose's main guy. Where he's telling him Kane is going to explode, I'm going to be the one to explode. But I feel like nowadays the players don't have that mentality. And that's the difference between someone like a Dele Alli and a Lampard. When Jose walked into Chelsea, he grabbed Lampard by the same way and said to him, I can take you to the next level. Lo and behold, we never, ever saw Lampard look in the rearview mirror again. And that's the small differences, I feel like, with the modern day players' mentality and the old school players' mentality. People can say, oh, it's the modern day, you've got to adapt. No, sometimes we have to call out wrong behavior for what it is. And I feel like the way Dele Alli's handled himself, it has not been great. Even when he's been brought back into the side from Jose's, with people saying, oh, he's left out in the wilderness and he's reintegrated him back in. He offered nothing again mid-season. Him and Bale. So it's a case of how long can we wait before we say, oh, no, Dele Alli's the problem? No, I've been calling Dele Alli out for now the best part of 2 years. The injuries and all of that, you're past that now. This is all now a mental thing and an attitude thing. And Dele Alli, you are a prima donna player who you do not need at this club. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're going to struggle to sell him. But is there any parallels to the Paul Pogba situation in this? Because, you know, I agree with you. The modern, the Dele Alli's attitude is definitely, there's a problem there. But then it kind of seems similar to the Paul Pogba situation. So that's why I keep going back. Is it just Jose just not being able to manage these type of personalities?
Yeah, and 100%. And I don't blame him for that. Like me, even in the United situation, I was on Jose's side. I felt they got rid of him and chose a group of young up-and-coming players. And you look at them now. They chose Martial over him. What's Martial doing for them now? They chose Pogba over him. Pogba's only shown a bit of form the last 2 or 3 months. Before that, he's been MIA for about 18 months. He's been there about 6 years. What impact has he had? So there's only... So for as much as people love to side with the players, make sure when you side with them that these players deliver. But I'm finding too often that these new prima donna players, when everything goes their way, they're still not producing the goods. So for me, it's like, what benefit is there to actually siding with some of these prima donna diva talents? Because back in the day, it used to be you could only maybe have 1 or 2 of those diva kind of elite players, a Di Canio or something like that. And you give them that free bit of license because you know what? You know he's going to do the magic on Sunday. You know when crunch time comes, he's going to deliver. That's why you allow those little bit of a Cantona or Rooney to do their own little thing. A Paul Pogba who goes consistently missing MIA and people are angry that Jose's calling him out. Luke Shaw looking overweight in training and looking very unfit. Jose's wrong for calling him out. No, for me, I call it how I see it. If a player's attitude is poor, I have no problem with the manager calling him out on it. Nowadays, the problem is there's social media that's included. So a lot of the times when a manager calls out a player, everybody on social media adds their 2 cents. And I think a lot of players struggle to deal with that pressure of the external pressure, not just the manager's criticism. Now they're starting to feel like maybe the whole world is against them. But for me, take yourself out of it. Look at the bigger picture. What is the manager trying to tell you? What do you need to take away from this message? And I feel like too often players are getting wrapped up in social media and what other people's opinions are and not focusing on what the real required work to do here is.
Yeah, man, you're spitting some real fire, man.
I'm passionate about Jose, man. I've watched this man's career from day one till now, and I've seen how the British media have constantly tried to vilify him, make him look like the bad guy. And I'm like, I don't get where it comes from. I don't know whether it's because he's anointed himself the special one, because he's got this cocky demeanor, because he never seeks the media's approval. But I'm like, Jose has earned what he deserves, bro. Like, and I feel like a lot of the times, for example, you look at how he's been made to look at Spurs in the last 18 months. Klopp didn't win anything for 4 years at Liverpool. Was not given any of that scrutiny. But because Jose's Jose, vilified. United, he was there 3 years. They made it out like he was the one that took the club down post-Fergie. No, LVG, Moyes, they were all contributors. He took over a transitioning team. similar to like at Spurs, he took over a transitioning team. But nobody ever wants to give Jose the patience because it's Jose and he brings success so quickly. He's almost a criminal of his own precedent that he set. Yeah. So it's like everybody expects it. Oh, Jose's here. We better get to work. We better win something within the next 24 months. And it's like, let's get realistic. Let's look at each situation for what it is. And I feel like that's where Jose himself maybe fucked up with the last two situations. With the choice in picking Man United, I feel like Man United was always something he felt like he wanted to do post-Fergie. And then with Spurs, I feel like it was more like an ego one where he was like, you know what, I've got a point to prove here type of thing. When really and truly, I don't think both jobs were either suited to him, to be honest.
No, as I keep saying, that Spurs squad just never, when he took that job, it just never seemed like the right fit. But then going back to the comment you were talking about, you know, the players and the current players, there's that comment that he threw, same manager, different players. That's perfect, isn't it? Like encapsulates what you're talking about. And I had a little slide just for that as well. 1 second. And my Interisti will like this one because this is the kind of people that he's lacking in his current team, isn't it? The likes of
mentality
monsters. Exactly, bro. These guys, these are the managers on the pitch. You know, when Mourinho was at Inter, you didn't need to be on the sidelines, you know, shouting things, telling people things, because you had Zanetti there on the pitch, you know, who was the captain, the armband. But then you had the likes of Cambiasso, he's the captain without the armband. He's the brain. He's the coach on the pitch. And then you got savages at the back like Lucio and Walter Samuel, who's not, you know, those are the centre backs that Jose likes. You know, those kind of guys that defend with their lives. So. Yeah. But those kind of players, they don't really exist in the modern game anymore. So do you see a way for Jose to like adapt to the new footballers? You know, the centre backs nowadays, they don't defend like they used to anymore, and that's probably why he wanted Skriniar so bad. Like, do you see him being able to adapt to these new footballers going forward?
I think that's Jose's biggest problem now, is how he adapts to these modern day players and moving forward. This is where I worry that his future prospects might be limited, because chairmans or balls will look at him and be like, can he manage a modern player? But for me, I feel like I look at clubs like Atletico, I look at clubs like Juve, and I just look at their defenses and I'm just like, nah, some of that defending still exists. Like, there are still some Lionheart defenders out there, like Demiral. I look at Juve and I'm like, someone like that is a murderer at centre back, just waiting to be clutched and put in a Jose system. He will thrive.
You know the Demiral thing. You know because we connected when I posted that Lucio video. Remember that comp? Yeah, and then after that, I quote tweeted that tweet saying that I think Demiral can reach these levels. I got cooked by Interisti, man.
They're not watching. They're not watching. I'm telling you, watch Demiral. He is, for me, a pure defender's defender.
Exactly.
And what you hit there with that Inter Milan team is very important, though. There was a group of leaders there. It was guys who were all away from Inter Milan. They were all international captains. They could all easily become captains at Inter Milan if needed. We're talking Cambiasso, Zanetti, like Ibrahimovic, elite. And I feel like at Spurs, you was never going to get that. I feel like at United with a transitional team, you was never going to get that. But will Jose ever be able to repeat those kinds of success again? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think so, to be honest. But for me, does that mean that Jose is now like done and dusted and finished and his way will never work? I don't think so. I think it will work, but he just needs the right situation. How many of those right situations available is the problem right now? How many clubs are willing to bankroll Jose and give him that kind of leeway and time? That's the biggest issue.
Yeah, bro. That brings me on to basically the question, bro. Like, is he dusted? Like, is Jose dusted at the top level or in the Premier League, do you feel? Because a lot of people are saying that Premier League wise he's done. Maybe he needs to go back to like Serie A or La Liga. Do you think Jose's time as a top elite coach is done? What do you think?
I think in the Premier League for sure. This is the last we see of him. I mean, how many times can you be vilified before you're like, do you know what? I've seen it all. I've done it all. I've got nothing more to prove to you lot. He's gone there and won every single trophy with multiple clubs. And I feel like Spurs was kind of like for me, it was like, how dare these lot sack me? These are the most silverless wear guys, like, and they're sacking me. There's nothing else left here for me. So for me, I personally would love to see him go into the Portugal national job. I think Euros coming around the corner, World Cup the year after. I think Santos, I think his name is, he'll probably stay there for these two tournaments and then leave after the World Cup. Jose will be 60 by then. I feel like it's just a natural transition. You've done you've managed the greatest teams. You've won everything in every country you've been to. You have nothing else to prove, Jose. This is why, for me, I don't think it's like, is Jose done at the top level? Jose's done everything at the top level. There's nothing else left for him to do. Do you know what I mean? Champions Leagues, you name it. He's done it all. He's built teams. He's like, I cannot emphasize the magnitude of what he's done. I don't think we'll ever see again in the manner that he's done it as well.
No.
So for me, I don't think is Jose done at the top level. I just want to see him somewhere now where he can get some respect back on his name. I feel like the Portugal national job is somewhere where we don't have to see him week in, week out. But then when we do see him every 2-3 months, he'll give us the nice little quick quibs and the little quotes. And we'll love it. Come tournament time, I feel like his ugly counter-attacking football that people don't like will actually be beneficial. I think in tournaments, that works. Like a lot of the times, teams who play on the counter-attack who look to grind out results, hey, you'll get through. And I feel like Portugal now have this nice hotbed of talent. Jose can capitalize on that, man. Yeah. Give them that extra bit of mentality. And I don't think the disrespect for Jose outside of England is as much as it is in England. I feel like in England, it's a very common and jokey thing to say that, like, Jose's finished, Jose's done out here. But I feel like in Portugal, in places like Italy, in Spain, there's still that revered respect for Jose, that he is a top-level manager and they respect what he's done there.
Yeah, and then that's I think when we were talking about, his management style and, how he relates to players, probably in a short period, like the national teams, you only get the players for like, those little breaks, like 1 week, 2 weeks, and then the tournament for 1 month. So in that short period of time, you can probably, still be in good terms with the guys, still be the initial Jose impact, because there's always, that initial impact is always really good from Jose. So I think, you were spot on. That's exactly where I wanted to take the conversation. The takeover from Fernando Santos, Cristiano maybe going for one last dance, both of them going for the last dance. I don't know. But yeah, you said, and that the Portuguese team talent at the moment is crazy, the depth they have. So yeah, I definitely could see that happening. I said there was a few comments saying that, it's a bit splitting at the moment in terms of Inter fans. Before Conte, a lot of Inter fans actually wanted Mourinho back, and it's quite splitting.
I can understand Inter's fans' perspective as well, because Jose will always have that history with them. They will always have a soft spot for him. But I also want them to understand that this Jose you get back will not be the Jose you had then. The Jose you had then just left Chelsea. He had a point to prove. He was taking over a great Inter team that was, I felt like, on the cusp of greatness. But he was just what was needed to come in and deliver that punch and that next level. And I feel like Conte has done something similar right now. He's come into an Inter team that's just behind Juve and mixing, but then now he's delivered that final punch where it's like, you know what? I'm going to come and deliver the big boys. And the credit I give Antonio Conte a little bit more as well is he's done it with bringing in guys like Ashley Young and Vic Moses and Lukaku's and guys who are seen as washed up Premier League players. And whereas Jose brought in a Schneider, an Eto'o, and you thought, you know what? Yeah, this team I can really see. Conte, I wasn't really expecting this much difference with the players that he's done. So credit Conte. I can see why they're very, very content with Conte, but don't rule out Jose just yet, man. There's still Italian clubs love to run it back, man. So I'd say Jose needs that rerun one more time.
Italian clubs love recycling, man, saving the environment. But I personally don't want to see him back at Inter. I want that legacy to remain untouched. You know what I mean? Because Roberto Mancini came back to Inter, and it was just like, we weren't that good then, and then it just kind of like he had.
I remember that.
Yeah,
he took over post Jose, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was like after Benitez, after like that period after like Stramaccioni, like it was 3 or 4 years after Jose. But yeah, it was just And then, yeah, I just want Jose to have those 2 years at Inter, like written in history forever, like untouched.
Nothing stains it.
Yeah, exactly. And especially now we've got a few like financial troubles and stuff. So I'm not really sure we can, if he would come in, he would need, this squad is made for Conte. Like this squad is custom made for the 3-5-2.
Literally.
Like this is Conte's like dream squad. So if he leaves, like so whoever comes in will have a massive rebuild on their hands.
100%. That's one thing about Conte I always realize. He has that 3-5-2 systems, and he finds players who are specialists almost in every single position, from the right centre back to similarly to how he introduced Bastoni and made him like the left centre back because he's that left-footed guy. People last year were looking at, is Skriniar completely out of the picture? But it's like, no. That's the one thing I love about Conte. He never really pushes anyone out of the picture. He's just like, I need more from you. He's similar to like Jose, where he's a bit of a mentality guy. He wants you to sacrifice and die for the team. If you're not willing to do it, that's why I feel like Brozovic gets so much love. Like he is the heartbeat of that team. But I wanted to ask you from an Inter fan, like, where do you see him taking this Inter team? Like, how far can you see him hitting those Jose levels?
I don't know, man. That's the big question mark with Conte, innit? Like for me, he's like, when it comes to league managers, I think he has to be in the running for like being top 3. Like this guy comes in. Facts. Whether your team was like with Chelsea was like they were 10th, I think the season before.
Yeah,
that Juve team was like a back-to-back 7th place. Yeah. And then this Inter team back-to-back 4th places. Is the Italy team, man. That Italy, like as an Italy fan, that team was so trash. Like that was the worst Italy team I've ever seen in my life, and that guy somehow took us to the quarterfinals, and we went out on penalties against Germany because
I think because it was only a quarterfinal as well. A lot of people brush over that, but that was like, if you look at that team and that coaching, honestly, you have to give Conte credit for that, man.
Yeah, bro. We bloody Graziano Pelle up front, bro. He's playing for Parma right now. He's being relegated. Eder, who's not even got a club right now. Giaccherini, Parolo. That could, obviously the back 3 was obviously the BBC
Juve lot.
Yeah. But then everyone else is so average. Like he chose them. He chose the average ones. To be fair,
I got like that's Conte's way. I feel like where Jose likes to get the mentality out of the quality players.
Yeah,
Conte loves to get it out of the mediocre players. And he likes to tell them, listen, you could be the world's best if you buy into this. And somehow he does it, man. Credit.
Well, that's what's so annoying about Conte is like, like I'm sure he knows that he's best when he's got like not the top quality players. I think he's best when he's got like the slightly lower, like the guys that don't have the ego, the soldiers. Like Cassano says, because Conte wants soldiers. That's what he wants. But that's why it confuses me when this guy wants like the big signings in the market, because it's like we've seen what happened with Eriksen, man. It took Eriksen like over a year to get into this team. That's probably a good example as well. Like he didn't. Like I thought he was dusted into Eriksen, but he's brought him back from the dead. Like he was like trying to push him. He was trying to. His methods are very peculiar, but yeah, it worked. It worked, man. Now,
am I right in saying that Milan derby free kick saved his career?
Pretty much, bro. Pretty much. I
felt like prior to that, because the week before that, he was linked with a loan move back to us, and then he scored that free kick. I think the very next week he scored again, and then it was like, all right, you're now back in the fold type of thing. And I was like, hey, you know what? Credit to him. He took his moment there. That's a big one to take, if any.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. But yeah, that's pretty much it, bro. That was a great conversation with you, man. Like very wide ranging. So overall, we're saying Jose is not dusted. Don't write off Jose, but Premier League wise, probably
much,
is.
yeah.
And
pretty much, honestly, I think he's been harsh done by in the Premier League and in his last 2 jobs. So they won't look too favorably back on him. People will always look at your last jobs and kind of judge you on that. But I feel like you have to take Jose as he is and for what he is. And I feel like that's what the last 2 clubs have made big mistakes in.
Yeah. Whatever club he goes to next, I hope that he picks it a bit more carefully. Like he has like, some sort of financial backing. He's, got some sort of, something in place. Like either at least he has a defense there already that he can work with, or he has, they tell him you can go out and buy whoever you want to make the defense that you want to make.
You know what I'm thinking might be not a bad shout. Juventus.
Yeah, someone,
They've got the
the guy
defense.
Hristo here said Juventus makes sense.
The
Hey, that
Juve
would
does.
kill us. That would kill
They've
us.
got the defense. They've got the money. The only thing is, I'm thinking, I know he has such a love for Inter. I'm not sure he'd do that. But for me, that would make a lot of sense, that move.
Someone said Atletico. I think Atletico's a good shout as well. But maybe they've had too much. They've had too much terrorism. Maybe.
I was going to say they've had a decade of terrorism. I think maybe they might want to switch up the brand and give Felix something he wants.
the players are like, please, no more, no more.
No mas. Bro, appreciate
but
it.
Just a quick before you go, the whole Skriniar thing in the summer. What did you make of that? What do you make of Skriniar? Would you want him?
Oh, bro, if you saw my Twitter timeline, I was basically doing Skriniar charity appeal every day. I said, we must get this guy, because even when he wasn't playing last season, I remember seeing Skriniar join from Sampdoria. And I remember the sort of back end of his Sampdoria, I caught a few games and I was like, yo, this guy looks a real complete signing. But I thought Inter made a big gamble, because I thought maybe that's a bit too big of a step up. But the quality he came in straight away. I mean, he's not the quickest, but I just felt like he had this composure, this ball playing ability, but at the same time, he was a bit rugged and tough as well. And I said, yo, everything you need from a modern day centre back, if there's a checkbox there, he ticks it. And I don't know why Conte's not starting him, but we need to capitalize. And while everybody thinks, the market is low on this guy, let's jump on it. But lo and behold, Conte woke up. He knew what he had there. He was not letting him go for the cheap. 65 million, I think it was. I said pay it, because it will be worth it in the long run, because you don't get centre backs like that very often.
Hey, bro, Daniel Levy came with 30 million. It was so disrespectful.
Bro, like I know there's such a thing as like lowballing someone, but that was just straight disrespectful. Like give someone something they're worth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But honestly, I think I love the fact that he's this season come back into the fold and absolutely taking the levels again. But one we definitely missed out on, and ironically enough, he was actually meant to be our cheaper alternative to Ruben Diaz, because that was the initial target Jose wanted. So imagine we missed out on Ruben Diaz and Skriniar and ended up with Rodon. Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy on us. We're finished.
No, man. Thank you so much for this. That was such a good chat. Everyone seems to enjoy it. My boy Mo here says he wants to have a talk with you. He was having he was disagreeing with a lot of the things you were saying. But no, all love, man.
Sounds like a United fan. No, I appreciate you having me on, bro, man. It was good chat.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to plug before you go?
Stoppagetimetv is where you'll catch me, podcast every week, and then on my YouTube channel as well, Spurs Eye View, where I talk everything Tottenham.
Yeah, I've left the link to your channel in the description, so people to check it out. Got your Twitter scrolling down somewhere below, and definitely recommend those the Stoppage Time podcast, and everything you do, man. It's good. I'm glad I found you. You guys do some good content.
No, I appreciate it, bro, man. Thank you, man.
But yeah, guys, thanks everyone for joining. We had about 15-20 people, I think, joining in. Hopefully, they get some traction afterwards. The Jose Mourinho the key word as always, get some traction. But make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you for the next one. And always Forza Inter for me.
Come on, you Spurs.